You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa
and Sumter counties. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, September 5, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. I got Chase Brumfeld with me. He's manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. Remember, Pinnacle Park at North River, luxury townhomes in a gated community near beautiful Lake Tuscaloosa. You have to see these townhomes and this neighborhood to believe it. It is luxury at its finest. That's Pinnacle Park in North River. Find out more at pinnacleparknr.com. That's pinnacleparknr.com. Take a virtual tour and contact them about leasing one of these gorgeous townhomes today. All right, we got a jam-packed show on tap for you today. We really do. And tomorrow, of course, the TGIF edition, I'm going to be live at Innisfree Irish Pub downtown. They technically don't open until 11. But I think if you come by and want to listen to some of the Gary Harris Show, they'll probably let you in the morning, Chase. So how about that? But we got a great show on tap today, and we got NFL football, returning, and just a lot to do and a lot to talk about today here on the show. First, though, I need to let you know this hour of the Gary Harris Show, as always, brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. I'm a member. I think you should become a member, too. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama and the Panhandle of Florida. Alabama Credit Union. Loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, I said we're loaded today. We've got the coach, Ellis Johnson, coming up at 9:30. And he's going to break down this weekend's SEC football games and kind of touch a little bit on what happened last weekend as well. Then at 10 o'clock, the return of D. Orlando Ledbetter, longtime Falcons beat writer for the AJC.com, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Falcons kick it off on Sunday, and they got high expectations in Atlanta this season. We'll visit with D. Orlando Ledbetter. Then at 10:30, it's my buddy, Jess Spiegel, longtime sports anchor, host of The Zone at ABC 3340 in Birmingham. Also, Freddie Roach, Alabama defensive line coach, former Crimson Tide player, met with the media yesterday. We're going to have some of his comments for you. And, of course, your phone calls, as always, as I said, on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. We want to hear from you as we get ready for another big weekend of college and NFL football. Chase, I love college football, obviously. But last week was fun, but it was still a little bit empty because we didn't have the NFL. You know what I mean? And it's like on Sunday, you had all that great college action on Thursday night and on Friday night and on Saturday, and you even had a game on Sunday night and you had a game on Monday night. But it was still empty. That void on Sunday. We didn't have NFL football. Now it's back. It is back full speed ahead, and I absolutely love it because and I know they've added games, and used to you woke up on Sunday morning, you watched the 12 o'clock games, you watched the 3 o'clock games, and then you had a Monday night game, and that was it. And now, of course, there's been a lot added to that because of the fact that they want more television inventory. But as a consumer, as a viewer, it's good. We got a game tonight down in Brazil. Actually, we got a game tonight in Kansas City, and then we got a game tomorrow night down in Brazil. But we kick it off tonight stateside with, I think, one of the best games of the weekend. If you're going to have a Thursday night game to start off the season, why not have the Ravens and the Chiefs? Defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs dispatched the Ravens on their way to the Super Bowl in a game that many people thought the Ravens would win. A lot of people last year thought it was the Ravens' year. It was the Ravens' time. Chiefs said, no, don't get too excited. We're going to take you down in Baltimore. Now, tonight's game is at Arrowhead. That is a 7:20 Central Time kick. And then tomorrow we go down to Sao Paulo, Brazil to have the Packers and the Eagles. Chase, what do you think about that? They've had some games in Mexico. They had some obviously in Europe. Now taking the NFL to Brazil's biggest city. That is going to be something else, I think.
Oh man, I'm praying for the protection.
You do worry about some stuff with,
with that though, I am happy because we're spreading the game. I know we always go to London and we go to Germany. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this, but there are a lot of Brazilian fans, like a lot of NFL fans in Brazil. They watch it like daily. They love it. I'm happy, honestly, for the NFL to grow. A lot of players have spoken about it, and they're excited to play. So expect a huge turnout when that game comes on. Well, it is.
There's a huge fan base down there, and I can't wait to see it, too. And I've always actually wanted to go to Sao Paulo, Brazil. It is a huge city. It is a gigantic city. It is a historical city. And I want to say, look it up if you can. I want to say the population's like 10 million people. I mean, in one city. See if we can find that. That's what I think. I might be wrong. The state of Alabama's got 5 million people to give some. Let me just Google Sao Paulo, Brazil population and see what we get. 2024. Let's see what comes up here. Well, the metropolitan area is 22 million. I think the city, it says, is like 11 million. But think about that again. That's more than the states of Mississippi and Alabama combined. That's incredible. I don't know much about the stadium. I need to research that while we're doing the show. And see just how big the stadium. I know, obviously it's going to be a soccer stadium. You know that. Because that's where soccer is huge. So I want to see how many it seats. And, cause I have not, other than knowing that they're playing down there, it says, it's Morumbi Stadium, 66,795 people. So that's about the average size of an NFL stadium. Cause NFL stadiums are usually a little bit smaller than college stadiums. So that's, so it's plenty big enough. And there'll be a lot of people that will not be in the stadium, obviously, but will be around it in the city. But I'm sure as far as the security, I'm looking at it now. It is beautiful. I'm looking at some pictures of it. As far as the security is concerned, it'll be maxed out for an NFL game. I promise you that. It is going to be maxed out, and I think everything will go smooth. But that's tomorrow night with the Ravens and the Packers. Tonight we've got – now, tonight's game is on broadcast television. I think tomorrow night's game may be streaming only. And that's something I need to look into this morning as well. Because you can tell I'm kind of in an NFL frame of mind as we get ready to play NFL football tonight. And I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait for Chiefs and for Ravens. Even though I'm going to be working, I'll have it on. I'll probably record it at home, too, just to be able to come back and watch it. But Derrick Henry making his Ravens debut. And they brought him in, with the idea of we want to take some of the pressure off of Lamar in the running game, although they always have a good running game anyway. But still, there's only one king, and it's Derrick Henry. And I think that they see him as a guy that can really open up some things in the passing game for them. This is going to be a great football game tonight. It really is. And the Chiefs are the gold standard, as we used to say about Alabama in college football. The Chiefs are the gold standard in the NFL. But I have a strong vibe that the Ravens are going to really, really play their rear ends off tonight out there in Kansas City. Obviously, college football, and we're going to get into the SEC schedule with Ellis Johnson coming up at 9:30, but I'll also run down the games. And then a reminder, tomorrow, as I said, I'll be live at Innisfree, but also my SEC point spread predictions. I went 8-1 in the opening week, and I'm pretty proud about that. So we'll have that for you tomorrow as well. But we've got a jam-packed show. Let's go ahead and, before we go to the break, let's go ahead and take Philip on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Good morning, Philip.
Man, I'm glad you're doing good on your pick because I'm struggling.
Well, I may struggle. I may struggle tomorrow. You know.
Oh, boy, man, I think I was 3 out of 7 this weekend, and then the first week I was 1 out of 2. So I'm struggling, Gary. So good for you. That's tough.
Yeah, but it is. Hey, I mean, I do it every year for fun, and when you just go down the slate of the SEC games and you pick them without being able to cherry pick the ones you like the most, it really decreases your odds. So as I said, man, to look at my sheet this weekend and started on Friday night, Oklahoma winner, then Georgia winner, just tacked them off, Alabama winner, Notre Dame winner, USC winner, Vandy winner, Texas winner, Kentucky winner, and then the only loser was Florida plus the 2.5. And of course, if you're going to miss one, that's the kind I like to miss right there. That was a no-doubter. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Florida got, Miami kicked a field goal in the last play of the game to cover. I mean, they dominated that game. So yeah, I had a good weekend.
They did. That was that Miami game. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback play in such an effortless, casual manner like that. He just really impressed me, and I think Miami's got a really good team, and they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, I knew Cam Ward was good. I'm with you, though, watching him operate a little bit on Saturday. I didn't get to watch the whole game, but he's a smooth operator, and he has elevated that team, and you're right, made them a serious threat, not only to win the ACC, which I think, based on the first weekend at least, they look like the best team, but also, to be a contender in the college football playoff. I mean, that was an impressive performance in the Swamp.
Yeah, I know you got a jam-packed show. I was going to ask you, as far as Saturday goes, now I know I'm interested in marketing and advertising and all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff, but I know we're going to have outside signage for the new field name, but I don't really, from what I can tell this past weekend at the game, I don't really see anything in the works for interior signage. Or I guess they'll have something, but do you know of anything?
No, all I know about is when they put out those renderings, like you said, Saban Field out, in the north end zone, Walk of Champions area, and some other signage, like you said. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about the field itself. I don't think there's anything being on that. To answer your question, I don't know the answer, but I think we'll see tomorrow night. I'm sure that when they run the ribbon for advertising at some points in time, it's going to say, welcome to Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm sure there'll be reminders of it in that regard. But as far as permanent signage on the inside, but there could be. There might. You've got those 2 end zones and you've got 4 corners of the stadium, so it would be where they. Those corner end zones, there's probably room there for some signage, so there might be something there. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night, to the ceremony and the dedication, and seeing how they go about it, and seeing where everything is at. But it's going to be fun. And I know I'm going to start referring to it as Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium once it's officially dedicated, and I think a lot of people will, because it rattles off. Some of these stadiums and fields are just so convoluted, it's too much. But this Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, that's easy to say.
Yeah, and why would you not want to use his name? I mean, that's the thing right there. But it's going to be a fun weekend, and I can't wait to go and hopefully get my hands on some commemorative stuff for my office and my house. I think that'd be nice to have for to hold on to, and a nice keepsake. So I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to a good game. I think South Florida is going to be a good team, but I think the tide will be on top, and Alabama's got a lot of skill out there. And I was going to ask you one more question before I leave. Arian Hampton, I was surprised he didn't get on the field Saturday night.
Who's that now?
Bubba Hampton.
Yeah. Did he not get in at all, Philip?
I
haven't checked the point participation chart, but I tell you, they played so many wide receivers. But you do have to remember again, man, true freshmen, that everybody's not going to play. They played a lot of guys, but everybody's not going to play. So I wouldn't read too much into it, as far as what that means for his future. I sure wouldn't.
Right. Gotcha.
Hey, some breaking news, Philip. You want to hear this? I guess this is right now. Someone just texted. Now, this is breaking news. It's from our general manager, David DeBose. Hey, real quick. We'll keep Philip on the line for this. Give me a breaking news little jingle here real quick, Chase, because this is going to be one that people want to hear here. Here we go. Breaking news from the Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC newsroom. The center and right lanes on I-2059 near exit 77 in Tuscaloosa are closed due to cows on the loose. Please move to the left lane. All right, Phil, we got to get to the break. Thank you, my friend. Hey, man, I do my duty here. We're breaking some news right there again. And this is true. The center and right lanes on I-2059 near exit 77 in Tuscaloosa are closed due to cows on the loose. Again, please move to the left lane. We'll be back after this. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special, Monday through...
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages,
house-made queso, sweet vinaigrette dressing, and spicy Cajun sauce. And check out our breakfast catering menu. Blue's Q and Brew is open 7 days a week. We're located at 1825 McFarland Boulevard North in the Northridge Center. Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky mostly cloudy today and tonight with periods of rain likely. The high today 84, tonight's low 67. Tomorrow cloudy and much cooler. Rain likely much of the day. The high tomorrow in the mid-70s at 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, now that we've got the cow alert out of the way, and but really seriously, do be careful, because cows are loose on the interstate. That could be a dangerous situation. So again, the center and right lanes on I-2059 near exit 77 are closed due to cows on the loose. Like I said, please move to the left lane to avoid any issues there. All right, Gary Harris, Chase Brumfield with you. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park and North River hotline. In the meantime, Freddie Roach, defensive line coach for the University of Alabama, met with the media yesterday following practice. The defensive line, I thought, played really well in the first game against Western Kentucky. They played a lot of different guys, got after the quarterback. We're aggressive. Here's Coach Roach, though, saying, they can even play better going forward, and you need to build on what you started.
Be where we're supposed to be, and, play as 11. We can't be individual contractors, and that's part of it. When you're playing a guy like him, it takes a team to slow him down.
You talked about Tim Keenan earlier. Just what is his role in your position group, just kind of as a leader and on the field?
He's a tremendous guy. Comes in every day, works his butt off. And, had a great season last year. He started off the right foot now. Helps the young guys out, too. I think that's the big part, kind of letting them understand what the standard is, what is accepted and what's not. I take 10 of them. The kid's unbelievable. And, again, it's day in and day out. He's consistent in what he does. You know you're going to get when you walk in the building, and you appreciate that as a coach.
As one of the only coaches on the staff, you and Coach Gillespie, that saw USF last year, is there anything that you've been emphasizing, having already seen them?
No, I just think you always got to respect your opponent, regardless of who it is. And they're a good ball club. You know, they may not be in our conference, but they have scholarship players just like we do, and they want to go out and win as well. So we've got to do our job and do a good job of it, and, you know, come out ready to play.
With this, that takes a team. Did you see some of that, or a lot of that? The teamwork was good.
Yeah, I think we're building. You know, everything's a process, and we're trying to take one step at a time. And the guys have done a good job of that. And, you know, it's week in, week out. This is college football, so everyone's got really good players. So we're trying to gel, continue to gel and be better, and just grow as a team.
What's your philosophy been with the rotations on the defensive line, and how'd you feel about how that went down on Saturday?
You know, we're trying to get everybody ready to play. I mean, I don't think you say he's going to play. I mean, everybody in that room needs to be able to come play really good football for us. I tell those guys the 2s need to be like the 1s, and the 3s need to be like the 2s. And, you know, if we can improve daily on every guy that's in that room, we'll have a chance to be a pretty good unit.
From what you saw, did you feel like the 3s played like 2s and the 2s played like 1s?
I think they did some good things. Obviously, there's always things that you can correct and do, but, you know, those guys are working towards one common goal. Let's be the best they can be.
Performance mentioned kind of capitalizing a little bit more on things like turnovers and just defense positions and stuff. How have you kind of preached that to your unit this week? Has that been more of an emphasis?
I think you do talk about it. He makes a good point. Like, we have to create takeaways, give the ball back to our offense, and I think when you're swarming to the ball and you're aggressive, you know, good things happen. And I tell guys all the time, you run to the ball and play with a great effort, you know, you create takeaways. And, you know, you create your own luck. And that's what we're trying to emphasize, and that's what we're planning on doing.
Last 2 questions for
James Smith, what did you see from him on Saturday?
James has done well, man. I'm proud of James. I told him today, I said, you make me smile. He's done a really good job. He's worked his butt off. He's changed his body. You know, I'm just looking forward to seeing him develop even more. You know, everything's a process, and day in and day out, we're going to work towards that.
What would you like from that band room? I know we talked a little bit about LT and as well as how they kind of push each other.
Yeah, those are 2 good ones now. Those guys they've done a really good job. They feed off each other. Jordan Renard's also in that group. He's done a really good job, and Keon Keeley. So we got 4 guys in that position that can push each other and make each other better. So, again, it's just day in and day out. And that's what it's about. It's no secret. You know, we're not drinking certain Kool-Aid or water. It's just we got to work. The work is the work. That's the big thing.
Coach, I'm doing a story on Nick Saban's best games and Bryant Denny, and one of them is the 2020 Georgia game. Just do you have a memory from that? What do you remember about that game?
That was a really good game. I think what I do remember was there was a wheel route to our sideline, and the guy was wide open, and Christian Barmore batted the ball down, which was a huge turn of events. But again, just that play in particular was a good one for us. But, you know, they've all been great. You know, everything he's done has been great. I don't think anybody can argue that.
Following that one, we got to see him kind of like share a moment with y'all and dance in the locker room. How, you know, he's had so much success, and like how fun is it to kind of like look back at those moments where you got to see him, you know, outside of maybe a coaching realm and just really kind of share those kind of moments with him?
And I think that, I mean, he's always said it's about the players. And they worked their butt off that game. And every win is hard to come by. I know expectations are you win every game. I understand that. But, you know, when you see a group of guys work their butts off throughout the week and have success on Saturday, you know, that's what coach is about. And I think he enjoyed that. He's seen that. And for him to celebrate with them, it was different for me to see for sure.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff from Freddie Roach. And you know what is even better, Chase, is it fit into our slot perfectly. It's 9:28. We're going to get our first break here on the show. Hey, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, great time to join. Every day is a great time to join, but particularly in September, no joining fee through the end of the month. That's right. Just to sign up, no joining fee. Also 10% off all personal training packages. I love personal training. I'm an advocate of it. I think it can help you if you're struggling to get where you want to go. They're certified trainers at the Y. Duo sessions or solo sessions, 10% off all personal training packages in September. All right, we'll be back with the coach, Ellis Johnson, next right here on the Gary Harris Show.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time.
Of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
.932, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time to visit with Coach Ellis Johnson, one of our most anticipated segments each week. Coach breaks down SEC football for us here on the Gary Harris Show. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Gary.
Before we get to weekend number 2 in SEC football, what an opening weekend it was. I mean, just some unbelievable games for our first week, some surprises, some disappointments. You know, all kind of in that first weekend. Just some of your takeaways, some things that you look back on and you say, you know, that really grabbed my attention in that opening weekend.
Well, I think going in, we talked about 4 big games with teams that were playing ranked opponents or football teams that had a chance to beat them. I thought Texas A&M had a very disappointing opening game, but I really credit Notre Dame's defense. Looks like it's really legit. They may be right in the middle of the playoff picture. LSU had a disappointing loss. I'm not saying they outplayed Southern Cal, but I think the reason they lost it were really stupid penalties and some other miskeys and, disappointing loss to a good football team. Florida, devastating. And it's puzzling. It really is, because I probably said on him before, I'm a big Billy Napier fan, and I'm really surprised how much trouble they've had down there and how much it struggled to get it turned. And then Georgia looked dominant, and I think Clemson was a little bit more the fault of Clemson than Georgia was beating Clemson, but Georgia looked very strong, and certainly didn't give anybody a reason to think they're not number one. And although Alabama and Auburn weren't playing very good football teams, I think we learned a lot. You know, Gary, just think about where Jalen Milroe was about a year ago today. He was over on the bench somewhere down in Florida with Coach Saban, and everybody thought Coach Saban had gone crazy. But just think about how that kid has come along in that amount of time. And, he could have hit the portal a long time ago, too, but he hasn't. And I'll tell you, he's going to be a weapon to be reckoned with. And it was obvious that Hugh Freeze has got control of his offense. It just seems like the glove fits on the hand again. And I know they didn't play a really good opponent, but when you take a kid who struggled as a college quarterback for a couple of seasons, and he's got 400 and something yards passing before the half and 4 touchdowns. It's hard to do that in practice. So there's some good things that happen for Auburn and Alabama too.
Highs and lows from last weekend. Let's start with a big high, and that's Vanderbilt winning. Not just playing well Absolutely. At home, but winning over a Virginia Tech team that a lot of the pundits said could contend for the ACC championship and still might. I mean, when you're Vanderbilt, for Clark Lee, this is a milestone victory. Now, they may not win a game in the SEC, but that was a big win for the Vanderbilt Commodores Saturday afternoon over a good team.
Really was. And the way they won it, had to come back, fight to the very end. They've had enough failure in that program in the recent times that all these kids on that team have been a part of. They could have easily let that go and not finish that ball game, but they did. And again, we think Virginia Tech's going to be a good, solid football team this year, and time will tell. But that's a great win for Vanderbilt, and especially the way they did it.
On the other end of the spectrum, after an off season of a lot of excitement and talk about how they were going to make progress, and to go out in the first game at home in the Swamp and get it handed to you. Miami absolutely put a beat down on Florida. I don't know it. It's one thing to lose the game, but it's another thing to get run out of your own stadium. And I was watching some of that game late. I never use the term quit, but some players checked out in that game. The effort went, and I know as a coach you hate that. Regardless of the score, the effort should always be there. Florida didn't have the effort late in that game. So I saw an offensive lineman get beat on a play and an interception, just walk to the sideline. I can't tell you how disappointed I was in that effort. As a coach, what about you? As somebody who I know likes and thinks a lot of Billy Napier. I was stunned by just how poorly they played in that game. And give Miami credit.
Yeah,
but the flip side is they didn't play well.
Absolutely. I mean, I hate to say things as a coach, about coaches. And I don't know if it's Billy Napier's fault. It's his responsibility, that's for sure. But I just, and we can't forget, as you just said, I think Miami is really good. And it might have been better than Florida expected them to be. I don't know. But, you got Mertz hurt. Their defense did not play well. He got some really high-priced guys out of the portal last year. When portal guys win games for you, everybody talks about what a great thing it is and why Dabo should be doing it. But when they lose games with stupid penalties and they don't finish games and play hard, nobody wants to say it's because of the portal. And I'm not going to say that it all is either. But I think all this transferring and not playing in bowl games and everything else, it is a reflection of what's going on in college football today. And while not every kid is doing it, there are a lot of kids that are doing it. I think Florida State bought one of the most expensive defensive fronts in the portal this year. And those guys are not playing when it gets gritty. They've gotten their butt kicked by two just solid ACC teams, but two teams who have learned how to run the football because their head coaches are really good coaches and believe in their philosophy. And both Boston College and Georgia Tech whipped Florida State up front. And those guys, the portal guys, I guess until they lose their paychecks, they don't really get excited about it. I don't know. I think it's a bad sign, Gary, but not to get off too far into that. I'm shocked and stunned about Florida, too. I thought they'd be a heck of a lot better football team this year.
Final thought on this past weekend, and, with Georgia, I guess it just kind of, reestablishes what we already know is that they're really good. And, because Clemson's defensive front's good, and they hung in. Of course, their offense was miserable in that game, but Georgia over 4 quarters, the way that they can wear you down and exploit you over the course of 60 minutes, and by the end of the game, just have you whipped. And it wasn't like it was a blowout from the get-go, not at all. But over 4 quarters, they just showed their superiority, against which I think is a pretty good Clemson football team.
Yeah, time will tell, but I think they match up well. There are a few places where Georgia might have been a little better than Clemson, and there were a couple of places where Clemson was good or better than Georgia, personnel-wise. Clemson was not able to, make that. Those differences didn't make the plays, and Georgia did. I don't know. 2 years in a row now, we've watched an offense that is a very finesse-type system, and if you don't make athletic plays and you don't make explosive plays and things, there's not much physicality in it. And I'm concerned that, that Clemson has to get that cleared out because it's happened 2 years in a row now. And it's a young season, and they played against a very good football team, but it's 2 years in a row of these same things. At some point in time, you've got to make sure you got the right kids in there, and you also got to find some kind of way to find a running game that complements a passing game. I don't know. It just seems to me that there's too much finesse and not enough grind and grit.
100%. All right, let's move on to this weekend, and let's start with a game that I find very interesting. It's the Fox Big Noon Kickoff in Ann Arbor, 11 a.m. Central Time. Michigan's the defending national champion, but I haven't seen very many people, and they're ranked number 10. I haven't seen very many people giving them a shot against Texas. I know Texas is really good. But I bet you, Coach, knowing a little something about Michigan football, that they're taking this personal. How do you see this matchup on Saturday in Ann Arbor?
I don't know. I think that Texas has got a better football team, and I think that they're a mature football team. I personally had picked them in preseason to win the SEC. We'll find out one thing about them, I think, up there, is are they physically tough on defense? Because I think they have developed that. But I know Michigan will test them in that way. Michigan's had a lot of distractions, not only with Coach Harbaugh leaving, but even since he's been gone, they still got turmoil going on off the field with NCAA issues and all that, suspending coaches for a game here and there. It's something like that going on up there all the time lately. I just don't think they overcome all that, but it will be hard in the Big House. I mean, that's going to be a hard road game. But I think Texas beats them at least by a touchdown.
Another game that I really like, and I'll be at the Alabama game, so I won't be able to watch it live, but Tennessee hosting NC State. This NC State team could be sneaky in Neyland Stadium. I mean, I think Tennessee at home is the pick here, but the Wolfpack's not bad. I mean, you know the ACC pretty well. This NC State team, they got some players.
They may be the best football team in the conference, but simply maybe not the most talented, but they may be the best team because Doran's been there long enough now. They know who they are, and they play each weekend, and they look like NC State football. If they ain't got good enough players to beat you, they don't have good enough players, but they're not beating themselves now, and you got to really play a complete game to beat them. I think Tennessee is probably 10 points or more better than they are, and especially at home. But I agree with you. It's a dangerous game for Tennessee, and NC State will be a tough opponent. I do think Tennessee will win it.
Let me ask you about Auburn and Cal, because clearly Auburn played Alabama A&M. It was, total mismatch game. But this Cal team last year out in Berkeley took Auburn down the wire. Now Auburn's better. They're at home. But at least a little bit of a test for the Tigers on Saturday afternoon.
No question. I think it'll be a good, solid opponent coming in. I thought that game last year, really, I don't know what was early in the season, Gary, but I thought that game for Auburn last year was kind of an indicator of what kind of team they were last year. They won a very tough, close ball game late out there on the West Coast. It's hard to go out and play a game on the West Coast in the middle of your schedule. You do it the first game, or you do it at the end of the season, it doesn't take a toll on you. But that travel in the middle like that can be rough on a team. But they're gonna get tested obviously more than they did last weekend. But I'm really impressed at this point, and somebody's going to probably be good enough defensively to prove me wrong. But when you can put up the amount of yardage and the passing statistics and the execution they did the first week, I don't care who the opponent was. At least you know that he's got his offense kind of back in gear, and I think Hugh calling the plays and setting the plan up and being in charge of it all is going to be a whole lot. It's going to operate a whole lot more smoothly, and it obviously did the other day. And I don't care who they were playing. When you go 300 plus yards and 4 TDs in the first half, a lot of teams can't do that in practice. So I think they're going to be okay. I'm not going to say they're going to beat Cal by 30, but I think they'll beat them at least 2 touchdowns.
And Alabama, as you alluded to, when they played South Florida last year, coming off the Texas loss, Milroe didn't play. They struggled to get out of there with a win and then turn their season around. But so it almost feels a little bit like a payback game, even though Alabama won the game last year and this coaching staff, most of these coaches weren't here. You're going to have the dedication of Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So it's going to be a really festive atmosphere. How do you think Alabama will respond against the South Florida team? Let's be honest now. They got 17 starters back. 9 on defense, 8 on offense, both their specialists. I got a quarterback that can make some plays. They're no pushover. How do you see this game?
Well, there's one little thing that got lost last week in the Alabama game, and that's the defense really played unbelievable.
Shutout, yeah.
Alabama had 17 explosive offensive plays, 9 of them were runs, 8 of them were passes. I think Milroe was involved in either 9 or 10 of them, and 9 of them went for touchdowns. I mean, that's unbelievable. And Tyson Elton knows how to coach. Western Kentucky is a very, very solid football team on their division. But it was not even a game from the get-go. But the defense had to bail them out a couple of times on the turnover here or there and some other field position things, and they looked good too. So it's not just the offense and Milroe. I think the defense looked really good the other day. So I think they're going to be fine, and I believe if the defense comes to play and plays as well as it did last week, I think they beat South Florida by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
All right, in just a minute, we're going to get one of our all-star callers. Tom wants to ask you a question. But before we go to the phones, hang on just a second, Chase. LSU lost to USC, and now they come home against a completely outmanned opponent in Nicholls State. So they're going to win the game. But Brian Kelly and his post-game press conference, pounded his fist on the desk. It almost looked contrived to me. I wasn't there, but it looked almost like I'm going to do this so people know I'm serious and my fan base knows I'm upset and all this. Thought LSU probably certainly could have won the game, probably should have won the game, but they didn't. And just the mentality of that team coming home against an outmanned opponent, with your coach kind of calling you out a little bit, and they did have some stupid penalties in that game for taunting. You've been there, I know, in 2000, Alabama rolled out to UCLA expecting to have a great football team and got it handed to them and never really got it turned around. For LSU right now, what's the mindset?
I don't know. They were right here in the same situation, maybe for a little bit different reasons, a little bit different feeling. But, they got beat at Florida State last year and played terrible. I think they had a ton of turnovers and all that. For different reasons now, they're sitting in the same place. Now, Southern Cal, they look like to me they will be right in the middle of it at the end of the year. They finally look like they have some physicality in their running game, and they look like defensively they fixing the defensive talent thing a little bit. But LSU had the opportunity to win that game, and that's why at the end, I don't know if this little fist pumping and all that was contrived, but I think what he said specifically about how it was over on the sideline when they looked like they were going to put that thing away, and they didn't, and because of all the lack of focus and I think he specifically commented on something that he noticed during that end of that game, and I think that was not contrived. I'm a little concerned about Nussmeier. I think he's a really good player. He's waited his turn. He's a veteran. He didn't run and jump in the porta potty like all the rest of them do, and they can't start. But he's got some limitations.
Didn't throw it down the field. Really just didn't throw the ball down the field, does he, Coach? Everything was short.
Yeah, I don't know if he's capable. And I don't know if he's capable. Well, they didn't want to take a shot. I don't know. But they've got to have a strong running game, and they're going to have receivers make big plays to make him the quarterback even halfway close to what they just lost.
I thought the same thing. Of course, Emory, who ran so hard in that game, got another ACL. Can you believe that? So he's out for the year, and that's a blow to LSU, but not where they want to start. All right, we're going to let Tom come on with you because he's one of our all-star callers, and he loves you, Ellis. So, Tom, punch him through. All right, Tom, you're on with Coach Ellis Johnson.
Coach, it's always good to hear you on. I really enjoy your take on football in general, and I appreciate you letting me call you. I want to ask you something about Florida, and if you don't want to respond to this, I understand. But when you look at Florida, and I'm a Billy Napier fan, I'm really pulling for him to make it and do well. But when you look at Florida, the last three hires have been disastrous. And there's got to be something wrong. Everything's in place for Florida to be good. Now, I want you to, and if you can answer this, I want you to answer it. I think Steve Spurrier maintaining an office in that athletic building has undone all three of those coaches. And Dan Mullen had a reputation at Mississippi State taking less and doing more with it than anybody we'd ever seen. And he can coach. But he fell flat at his face, and I think it's because of Spurrier.
Coach, what do you think about
it? And of course, my background with Coach Spurrier, but knowing him as a person, he hasn't put one finger in the middle of that program unless he was asked by somebody what he thought about something specifically. He was actually going to stay in Columbia. And it didn't feel comfortable, and he went back down to Gainesville where he is comfortable, and it simply was a personal choice. He's not meddling in that program whatsoever. But I was talking about the same subject the other day with someone, and, you have to look at Florida in the big picture. Other than the stretch that Steve Spurrier was the head coach and the stretch when Urban Meyer was the head coach, Florida has a very spotty history. They've never been a constant, continual champion except during those two guys' tenure. And when Urban left, and I'm not pointing the finger at him, but they had a mess down there with personnel and players and off-the-field stuff that was going on. It was almost criminal. And the next thing, the coaches kind of had to dig through it. So I don't know that you look at Florida as one of the best 5 or 10 jobs in America like coaches keep doing. It hasn't historically proved to be that. And what Steve Spurrier did there was unbelievable, and I think he's just that good. I've worked for him. But he's not meddling in that program. I can tell you that for sure. It's just, I think it's unfortunate. But once the thing about programs today, if they get off kilter and they start having turmoil and they're not winning, and you make a coaching change, the turnaround has to be almost immediate, or you almost can't get it done because the snowball and recruiting just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Tom, you didn't take my word for it. Tom called in with this same thing yesterday, and I told him that wasn't the case, but obviously he didn't. You don't trust me, Tom.
I do. I just want to hear Coach Ellis. Coach Ellis has, he's smarter than me and you.
I know. I'm just pulling your chain a little bit.
I got real smart when I got out of coaching.
Appreciate it, Tom.
Coach, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. You said something there, Ellis, that I think all coaches that I know say. You're always smarter when you're sitting at home on Saturday watching it on TV, aren't you, as a coach?
I hadn't made a bad call in 9 years.
I like what Pat Dye used to say. Yeah, we all got the answers after the game. We all know the answers then. All right, we got to wrap up the segment, but like I said, I thought it was an exciting first weekend of SEC football, and now as we roll into it, one final game I'm going to ask you about. Because Houston, it's got some players. I really was impressed with how Oklahoma took care of their business. Everybody's focused on Texas coming in from the Big 12. This Oklahoma team they're no joke, Coach, at all.
Yeah. I think Texas had a better looking roster when Sark got there as opposed to Brent. But I'm very impressed with it, too. And I do think he's going to really have to bring it along a little bit more. I don't think they quite have the roster, the depth chart Texas does right now, but they'll mix it up. They'll be right in the top half the very first year.
All right, great stuff as always, Coach. Appreciate it, man, and we'll enjoy the weekend and talk to you again next week.
Enjoy it, Gary.
All right, it is 9:53 here on the Gary Harris Show. Good segment with Coach Ellis Johnson. We'll take a timeout, come back and wrap up this first hour on this Thursday edition right after this.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a free-for-all Friday powered by the pharmacy at Midtown. We'll take your calls, your thoughts, your reactions, and don't forget to get your scores in as we have the Alabama Legacy Collection Score Prediction Contest with Jalen Milroe, total yards as a tiebreaker. We'll have those conversations and more right here on your home for Alabama sports. It is the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build your own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour special. Come discover better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky mostly cloudy today and tonight with periods of rain likely. The high today 84, tonight's low 67. Tomorrow cloudy and much cooler. Rain likely much of the day. The high tomorrow in the mid-70s at 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, we're going to put a bow on this first hour, but still another hour to go, and excited to kick off our Segment with D. Orlando Ledbetter, Atlanta Falcons beat writer, in hour number 2, plus Jeff Spiegel, more of your phone calls, and look ahead to the SEC football schedule. We just covered a lot of it with Coach, but I'll run down the complete schedule. And, of course, tomorrow, my point spread predictions, plus our Bama football trivia giveaway. Chase, we're going to give away the same print that we gave away last week, that beautiful Greg Gamble Gravedigger print with Milrow on one side, Isaiah Bond on the other. All right, all that's coming up in the second hour of the Gary Harris Show. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. We got another hour to go here on the Gary Harris Show.
Electrical distributors in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, or Decatur, or call All Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville for an on-site evaluation and recommendations for optimizing your lighting.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Kevin Wyatt.
At tennis in the U.S. Open, they have reached the semifinal round, and American Jessica Pegula beats top overall seed Inga Swiatek 6-2, 6-4. And there are 4 Americans still alive in both the men's and women's semifinals, as Jessica Pegula will be joined along with Emma Navarro, Frances Tiafoe, and Taylor Fitz. As for Major League Baseball, it was reported late last night that the San Francisco Giants and third baseman Matt Chapman in agreement on his 6-year, $151 million contract. It does wipe out the final 2 years of his current deal, and it also prevents him from opting out. And as for the action on the diamond last night, the American League East standings remain unchanged. Both the Orioles and Yankees losing. Baltimore falling 8-1 to the White Sox. The Bronx Bombers lose to the Rangers 10-6.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
On September 24th, Tuscaloosa city voters will decide on a property tax increase for city schools. Board Chair Eric Wilson says a yes vote would help keep the city system from having to make critical cuts. On the same day as a mass shooting at a high school outside of Atlanta, Oakland schools in Walker County received an online threat. Security has been increased. 63-year-old Henry Efert has been charged with attempted murder in that shooting at Sheffield Courts over the weekend. The victim is recovering from multiple gunshot wounds.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, everybody, welcome to hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld, another hour to go. We'll be getting to some more phone calls, but we're going to kick off hour number 2 by welcoming back D. Orlando Ledbetter, one of the most respected NFL writers in the country, longtime NFL writer, been on the Falcons beat now for the AJC and the AJC.com for a long time, and he's been joining us for several years to talk Atlanta Falcons football. We're glad to have you back. Hey, good morning, Orlando.
Hey, good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Man, glad to have you back for another year. Hey, we're going to jump into Falcons full speed, but I do want to get your take on these 2 season openers that we've got Thursday and Friday night. Beginning tonight, man, I think this is going to be an exceptional football game. The Ravens had their season wrecked last year by the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the gold standard again in the NFL. But Baltimore goes into Kansas City tonight, into Arrowhead with Derrick Henry, trying to take some of the load off of Lamar Jackson. What do you think of this game tonight? I think it's going to be a heck of a football game.
Oh, yeah, what a great way to open the season, Gary, with 2 of the heavyweights in the AFC going at it. We'll see if Baltimore can make the adjustments. They tried to pass too much in that playoff game. And they had the game won. If Zay Flowers doesn't stick the ball out at the goal line, and you lose the points and give up points. So that was a double swing there that cost them the game. Otherwise, we might have had a Detroit and Baltimore Super Bowl. So it's a great way to start the season.
Yeah, it is. And then tomorrow night in Sao Paulo, Brazil, maybe the largest city in the world. I don't know, it's certainly one of them. We get in the NFC, we get the Eagles and the Packers, another tremendous matchup with 2 young athletic quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love.
Yeah, no doubt. The Eagles are retooling up front as Kelsey's retired. N'Kobe Dean is set at middle linebacker to take over. But they got to get their offense back on track after last season where things became derailed for Jalen Hurts and the offense. So, and the Packers finished strong. They were, a force in the playoffs with Jordan Love getting comfortable, getting a contract extension as the guy for the future for the Packers. So, yeah, their passing attack against the Eagles, and if they can get their passing attack on, maybe they can match. And if not, the Packers should be favored in this one.
All right, let's get to the Atlanta Falcons. And I've been reading some of your stuff. I've been tracked it during training camp. There's a lot of excitement surrounding this football team. But when you look at this early schedule, it is not easy. I think it's critical, with games coming up at Philadelphia and versus the Chiefs before you get into division play, to beat the Steelers this Sunday at home. How big is this opening game for Atlanta Falcons football?
Yeah, I think it's a very big one, Gary, with all the optimism. You got a quarterback that should be substantially better than Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota. Maybe not quite on Matt Ryan's level in his prime, but you got a quarterback to go with all the weapons you've been amassing, and now you should be able to attack people. And then on defensively, you added some veterans here that automatically make you better on that side of the ball. Now, they haven't played anybody. They've been going against each other in practice, and so that's a little bit different. We've seen some of the best practices in quite some while out here at Flowery Branch, but now can that translate to a real regular season national football game? Is that the challenge for Coach Raheem Morris and his staff?
When you look at the Falcons offense, on paper, it's constructed very nicely. I mean, with the quarterback, with the receivers, with the tight end, with the running backs. I mean, I guess the only question would be, how do you think the offensive line will play? Because they've got the playmakers, it feels like, on offense. What about the O-line?
Yeah, they are a run-blocking line. They've been one of the top run-blocking units in the league the last 2 years. So, you need to stay with that. You got a couple running backs to run back there, and rookie Jason McClellan from Alabama to help out if you need to go that far. But, yeah, they got to run the ball first, and then you can disperse to the weapons. It's not a 40 drop back a game line. It's just not. It never was, even when Matt Ryan was here late in his career. So, go attack people, jump in their grills, play some physical football, and then throw your quick passing game off of that. And then when you got to take a shot, you can do the play action and get it down the field.
Defensively, what does this Falcons defense look like to you? And let's say that the offense does perform the way that we expect it to. Is this defense a caliber high enough to help this team potentially be in the hunt for a championship?
Yeah, I think so, Gary. I got my guy, Jesse Bates, that I trust. And, he had 133 tackles last year. And I said, well, hey, looking up in front of you, you think you're going to need to be making 133 tackles this year. And he started smiling and said, hey, yeah, you never want the safety leading you in tackles. And he started naming all the guys he sees in front of him. And I'll focus in on the line. You got Grady Jarrett, David Oyemana. And they're trying to make Zach Harrison, who finished strong last year. Then you got Eddie Goldman off the bench, who's coming back after 2 years out of the league. They drafted Rook Arroyo, and they brought back Octavia Street. So that's 6 deep. And they got 2 more guys behind them. Dorless, who was also a draft pick, behind them. So they can probably spot play those guys and keep Grady and Oyemada fresh for third downs in the fourth quarter. But that's what Jesse Bates sees up front. He sees some people that are going to not let that ball get back to him as much as they did last year.
All right, I want to get back to Cousins because obviously the Falcons drafted Michael Penix as well, which is, turned some heads. You were really bullish on Cousins. I know you like him a lot. I thought the Falcons maybe should have taken a look at Justin Fields, Atlanta kid, athletic, young, but the fact that he didn't win the job in Pittsburgh maybe lends even more credence to the Falcons made the right move. Cousins, we know that he's solid. We know he's a veteran. We know he's a pro. We know, all the things that come with him. But he has not been necessarily a playoff force. And so you bring a guy in, not just for the regular season, but for the postseason hopefully as well. Are the Falcons confident that he's the guy that can, lead them past just, getting into the playoffs to make another deep run? They've had a few, but it's been a while. Is he that caliber of quarterback in your mind?
No, he's not. He would have done it by now, Gary, 36. But right. What he is a solid guy. And you got to look at the Kansas City situation. They had Alex Smith. They drafted Pat Mahomes. Yeah. They played the veteran who, got into the playoffs and did his thing. But when Patrick was ready, they put him in there. They built a team out around the quarterback. They kind of done that here. Kirk can maybe take you from the bottom, which is where you've been, third and fourth, to the top of your division. If he can win a title for you, fine. He can get hot and go to playoffs, fine. If not, down the road as you keep building out, you think you have a talent that could get you over the hump and take you to the Super Bowl. So that's the analogy that you got to go to right now because he lost the playoff game last time he was there to the Giants. He's got one playoff win. He's thrown for a lot of yards on a regular basis and won a lot of games. And you just got to stick to what his record has been.
What is the plan for Penix? Even though Cousins is the quarterback, is there a plan this year to get him some game time reps? I'm not talking about alternating quarterbacks or anything like that, but situational stuff, a package for him, or is it Cousins' show completely?
Yeah, it's Cousins' show completely. They're planning on getting him better out here at practice, going against the first team defense. That's my understanding of the plan. As the number 2 guy, though, you're one play away from being in there. So, unless there's some blowout mop-up duty in his future or an injury, their plan is to get him better in practice, much like the Packers did with Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, much like they did with Jordan Love for 3 years. It got them better in practice, played them in spots, and then when it was time to take over, they took over.
We know in this division, the NFC South, what an entertaining division, with the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bucks, and the Saints. You really never know from year to year in this division. How do you see it this year, the division overall?
Yeah, I went through that again last night. The Bucks, I think, are still the team to beat. Although they don't have a rushing attack. They didn't do much to help that out. Got a new offensive coordinator, and Baker Mayfield and the 3 receivers. So that's good. Stout defensive front, and they got Whitehead back to go with Winfield Jr. So the defense is solid. The Saints are getting old, so everybody's expecting them to fall off the cliff this year at some point. And the Falcons are the team on the come with so many changes. Just got to see if Coach Raheem can bring it all together and get them wins. We're in the same place they were last year. They, soft NFC soft, but they couldn't get the win. So, the Panthers, they're a few years away. I don't see any weapons up there that scare anybody. Got the young quarterback. They refortified the line. They're still building up there in Carolina.
D. Orlando Ledbetter with us, breaking down the Falcons. We're about to wrap it up. You cover the Falcons. That's your beat, but you're, like I said, this league. Overall, adding more games, cutting back the preseason, going to have some streaming games. I mean, this is all about the money, global expansion, everything else. Overall health of the league. Orlando, do you like where they're at?
Oh, yeah, very much so. And I got to tell Roger Goodell that this summer when I was in Canton, sitting right next to him at the Bill Nunn Award banquet, which, we won this year. And, I saw it come from $2 billion to 10. The owners in 2011, they were just trying to get from 1 to 2. So he's done a great job in growing the business of the NFL in the digital era. The future is bright. It's, it's different. I get mad when I got to download the app and move over here and do all this, but I just want to click a one remote. But that's not how the kids watch TV now. And they're taking over and doing it a different way. They want to watch it on their phones at the bar while they're, we used to have to go home and sit in front of our TV and wait for it to come on. It's a different thing in the digital mobile era, and the Falcons and the National Football League has adjusted, and Roger Goodell's done a great job. That's why they extended his contract one more time.
Yeah, it's still exciting, man. I'm pumped up for the game tonight, the game tomorrow night, then our first big Sunday and Monday of NFL action. Orlando, always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate the insight. Go ahead and let everyone know that's listening how they can get your coverage both through the AJC and on social media.
Sure, Gary. Thanks for having me. We can find me on AJC.com. We'll tweet out everything on the X at DOrlando AJC. Thanks for having me. We're getting ready to head into year 20 covering the Falcons.
You sure are, and we're glad to have you. Real quickly, prediction for Sunday. The Falcons get it done?
Yeah, I think so. They're going to load up and stop the run and make Russ one-dimensional. Then all you got to do is cover George Pickens. So they should be able to do that, even if they have Jesse Bates and Jesse Simmons and A.J. Terrell following him around.
Thank you, Orlando.
All right, take care, Gary.
All right, 10:16 here on the Gary Harris Show, and that's the Falcons preview for this weekend, broken down by the great Orlando Ledbetter. All right, we're going to come back in the next segment. We're wide open for phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. I know we've been a little guest heavy today, but we got plenty of time for calls in the next segment. So let me hear from some of you guys and girls out there that want to talk a little ball, Alabama football. We break it down every day, but when I come back, I'm not going to give you I already picked the score. I picked it 52-13, but I'm going to give you some of my insights into why I think Alabama
Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky mostly cloudy today and tonight with periods of rain likely. The high today 84, tonight's low 67. Tomorrow cloudy and much cooler. Rain likely much of the day. The high tomorrow in the mid-70s at 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:20. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM, WTBC, your home for University of Alabama Crimson Tide sports. All right, Alabama football this Saturday night. A lot going on in this game. It's a game that when you just first glance at it, you think Alabama versus South Florida blowout, but many of us thought that last year. And Alex Golesh and his team, took it down to the wire in Tampa. This game is in Tuscaloosa, obviously, at the soon-to-be dedicated Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and this South Florida team now is much more established than that team last year. They've got 17 starters back plus 2 specialists. They're a team that is going to come in here with some confidence, and it's going to have a big game buzz to it because of Nick Saban and the Sabans being there for the dedication of Saban Field, and also because of the fact that I think Alabama played so poorly down there last year that it feels a little bit like a payback game, even though Alabama won the game last year. I don't think the players that were on that team were happy at all with how that game played out. So even though it's South Florida, it's got a little bit of a buzz to it, which I like because that gets players' attention. And I think Alabama took care of its business last week against Western Kentucky. No doubt about it. I think they'll be dialed in again. I think there'll be a lot of focus. I think they'll approach this game maybe with more intensity than you say. Well, you're supposed to approach them all with intensity. I get it. Coach Saban talked about the process, playing to a standard, regardless of the opponent. But players know who the opponent is, and it's just human nature. Players are going to get more jacked up to play Georgia or LSU or Tennessee or Auburn than they are to normally play South Florida. But in this case, I just think there's enough excitement surrounding this game that this team's going to be dialed in. And if this Alabama team is dialed in, they're going to be too much for South Florida, in my opinion. I just feel strongly that what I saw last Saturday night, sitting in the press box at Bryant-Denny Stadium, was an Alabama team that has just kind of scratched the surface. Obviously, it's game one. I said the ceiling for this team, in my opinion, is a national championship. That's the ceiling. They're good enough to win it. They're one of the teams that's good enough to win it all. The floor, to me, is just making it into the playoff. I don't think this team – I don't think there's any way right now that this team doesn't make it into the playoff. So this is a good team. Playmakers everywhere on both sides of the ball. You know, we always talk about playmakers in terms of offense, but there are playmakers on defense. We saw Keon Sabb. And listen, I still think Caleb Downs is he's one of the best freshman football players the University of Alabama's ever had. I mean, he was dynamic. Hated to see him leave. But Alabama brought in a pretty dynamic safety in Keon Sabb, who's the SEC Defensive Player of the Week after one game. 2 first-half picks, a ball hawk, a guy who has great vision, and this is a vision-based defense. The defense swarmed. You know, that's the 4-2-5 swarm defense, and they swarmed to the ball. They got after it, man. They tackled. There were usually 3 or 4 guys around the football. Only 1 sack, but they affected the quarterbacks the entire game. The punter, Burnett, was outstanding. The place kickers, Talty kicking off, and Nicholson didn't have to try a field goal, but extra point-wise, just drilled them. I mean, so I think Alabama understands what's ahead, beginning with next week a trip to Wisconsin, and then the bye, and then Georgia at home. But they're not going to be looking ahead. I think they're dialed in on this game with Nick Saban, their former coach, and his family in the house for the dedication of Saban Field, and with a nighttime game, weather should be fantastic, cooler temperatures. I mean, I think this is going to be a really big game atmosphere. And you don't always get big game atmospheres in these type of games. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, it always ought to be a big game atmosphere at Alabama. They're only playing 7 home games this year. Only 7 times are you going to get to go to that stadium. And I get that. But the buzz around this game, I'm feeling it already here in town. It feels a little bit more like a marquee opponent. And even though I have respect for South Florida, the South Florida Bulls are not a marquee opponent. Okay? That's not a team that when you get the schedule and you look through the schedule, you circle it and say, oh my God, I got to go to the South Florida game. You know, that's not, you initially think, oh, well, they got Western Kentucky and South Florida 2-0 before they go to Wisconsin. And I think that will be the case. But I do think there's excitement about this game. I think the fans are going to be buzzing. I think the players are going to be buzzing. I think the coaching staff is dialed in. And I think you're going to see a really good version of Alabama on Saturday night. And that's trouble for the Bulls. Alex Golesh is proving that he's a very fine young head football coach. Of course, he was the offensive coordinator 2 years ago in Knoxville when Tennessee outscored Alabama in that wild game and won it on the last play of the game with that knuckleball field goal. But he did a really good job last year as the head coach of the South Florida Bulls. Really good job. And they've got a football team this year that they think can win a lot of games. But they're not going to win on Saturday night. And I think Alabama's going to take another step toward proving that they are a team that has a chance to win a national championship. So you just keep building. You win this week. You go to Wisconsin. You take care of business. You get the bye. And then we're going to be, watching a game when Georgia comes in here that's going to have all the hype in the world, man. September 28th, this town is going to be crazy. You're going to have what I think will be undefeated in top-ranked Georgia against undefeated in number 3 or number 4 Alabama. In what has become maybe not the biggest rivalry in the SEC because Alabama and Georgia don't traditionally play every year, but what has become the most important rivalry in the SEC is Alabama and Georgia. Those are the 2 heavyweights in this league. And so when they lock horns in a few weeks, 3 weeks from this Saturday, it is going to be nuts. At that point in the season, it will be the biggest game of the year. You'll have everybody here. College Game Day will be here. All of the pregame shows that can be here will be here. Ticket prices on the secondary market are going to be off the chain. Georgia fans are going to get as many tickets as they can get because they keep convincing themselves that this will be the time that they handle Alabama. And they did get the one national championship win against the Tide. So everything's on pace. Everything is in the crosshairs for Alabama. But it all starts on Saturday night. And I think the Crimson Tide is going to be ready to rock and roll. It's 10:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. Quick mention, getting ready for the weekend. Well, how about you get ready for some outstanding barbecue at Hughes Q and Brew. They're on Highway 82 in the Northridge Center in Tuscaloosa. Open 7 days a week. And this announcement, Chase, you're going to be interested in this because I know you're an entertainer. Beginning Wednesday night, karaoke at Hughes Q and Brew.
Oh, you get my singing on.
You know I'm a singer. So I may have to take off one Wednesday night from the TV station to go up there and rock the
changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
It's Beans time here on the Gary Harris Show. My pal, Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor, host of The Zone on Sunday nights, ABC 3340. And we talk some ball here every Thursday morning. What's going on, Jeff?
Gary, I'm good. How are you doing, man? You okay?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks. Hey, man, I want to throw out some stuff from the opening weekend of SEC football. Just first of all, what was your, if it's none of the above, tell me, but your biggest surprise, was it Vanderbilt beating Virginia Tech? Was it Florida laying a complete egg against Miami and getting run out of their home stadium in the Swamp? Was it LSU faltering down the stretch and having tons of mistakes to lose to USC? Or was it, and I'm going through these, and I had them all laid out for you. I know there was one more. Was it the Fighting Irish going into Kyle Field? That was my fourth, and beating Texas A&M. Or was it none of the above? What was your biggest surprise from the opening weekend?
Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to rank these for you, okay? Okay, the number one surprise was Vanderbilt.
I agree.
I didn't expect them to beat Virginia Tech. When Virginia Tech took the lead in the fourth quarter, I thought Vandy was done. I thought they were done. But that quarterback is something special. I mean, I saw it last year when he body slammed an Auburn defender, who tried to tackle him. And, that kid is made of something extra. So I got Vandy going to a bowl game. And I know that sounds like overreaction, but I got Vandy going to a bowl game. Okay, second most surprising thing was Notre Dame going into Texas A&M in a hostile environment and doing something that's, very unlike Notre Dame, and that is, winning a big football game. So that was my second biggest surprise. Third on the biggest surprise list was LSU losing. I'm starting to lose some faith in Brian Kelly and just, that LSU had no poise down the stretch, defensively, and the targeting call was ridiculous. And I love the way he banged his fist on the press table, after the game and everything. But where was that fire during the game?
Exactly.
I mean, why wasn't he throwing a headset during a game? Why wasn't he chewing out somebody during a game? I didn't see any of that during the game. And the least surprising thing was Florida losing, because I got zero faith in Billy Napier. Zero faith in Billy Napier. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Stanford goes in there. I'm not saying they're going to beat Florida, but it wouldn't surprise me if they went in there and, scored some points and made it a game for a little while. And if they do, then Billy Napier is that much closer to, 1 foot in the grave. But that was the least surprising thing that happened over the weekend to me.
Let's talk Bama and Auburn. We'll start with the Tide, 63-0. Crazy first half, Jeff. Alabama only ran 20 plays. Western Kentucky ran 51 plays. Alabama had 360 yards of offense, and Western Kentucky had 145, I think. And the team that ran 51 plays, Western Kentucky, was down 42-0. The explosiveness of that Alabama offense was on full display. I've heard some analysts say, well, I want to see them sustain drives. Well, I would too, but you can't, like I said, you can't tell Justice Haynes to fall down at the 25-yard line so you can sustain the drive. I mean, big plays are big plays, and Alabama is a big play offense. At least that was my takeaway. What about yours?
Well, the shocking stat that I heard the day after, or the night of, is that it's the first time since the Temple game in 1991 that had 2 scoring plays of more than 80 yards. That blew me away. Gary, that's been 33 years ago. And that's just crazy. But, yeah, it was really awesome to see. And every Bama fan that I've talked to since then, loved it. And another thing they say is it was different. It was different. It's a Kalen DeBoer coach team is different than a Nick Saban coach team. Kalen DeBoer on the sidelines is different than Nick Saban on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no throwing headsets or losing temper or anything like that. Kalen DeBoer doesn't have that intensity, that he shows outwardly, but you can tell, I mean, this guy is coaching him up really well. And what I'd have to say about that is that, that there's more than one way to win, and there's more than one way to win big. And I think this guy's going to win big at Alabama. I mean, national championship big. I mean, it may not be this year. It may be next year. But I have a lot of faith in that guy that he's going to get it done, and he'll be able to sustain, what Nick Saban has built there.
The Ryan Williams debut lived up to the hype. 2 catches, 2 long touchdowns. The first one, 3rd and 13, he just gets lost behind the defense. How you lose that guy, I don't know. And walks it in. And then the second one was a crossing pattern, post pattern in the middle of the field, and he breaks a couple of tackles on his way to the end zone. But we knew, you and I know, we watched him play high school football, how talented he is. But to go ahead in your first game and strike big like that, I think it made Alabama fans' hearts warm up with the idea that we got this guy probably for 3 years.
Well, I was in the studio. I was anchoring that night, and it was really weird, that it happened this way. Ryan Williams scored his first touchdown on his first touch, and then it was seconds later, Cam Coleman scored his first touchdown on his first touch, for Auburn. It was crazy the way that happened. But these guys, 3 years from now, I mean, I don't think I'm overstating it when I say, these guys could go 1-2 in the NFL draft. But these guys are otherworldly athletic, and they're so dang young. And there's so much to look forward to with those 2 guys. It's just, it's crazy. But yeah, 2 touches, 2 touchdowns, 139 yards. It's hard to beat a debut like that.
Alabama this week draws South Florida, and I said this on the show this morning, Jeff, and I'm curious if you agree. You may not. This feels like a payback game for the players that were down there last year. Even though Alabama won the game, it was a tough one. Milroe didn't play, sloppy. It just feels like they want to prove something. And you've got the Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium dedication. I'm here in town every day, as you know, and even though this is South Florida, which returns 17 starters, by the way, this has a big game vibe. It's a lot of buzz for this game, Jeff. It doesn't feel like South Florida. It feels like a bigger game to me. Would you agree with that?
No, I think that's good if you're from Kalen DeBoer's, perspective. You don't have to worry about a letdown, after a big opening game, win like that, a very productive game like that. I think the guys are locked in. I think they do have something to prove to these guys. I think the South Florida guys felt like maybe they let them off the hook last year. And Alabama could come out there and just say, well, we're going to show you probably what should have happened. had we had everything together, when we were like Alabama usually does. And I want to say this: I think it's beautifully done the way they're handling this Saban Field dedication. I had no idea how they were going to do this. I didn't know if it was going to be like a pregame, thing or something. But they're going to have the Walk of Champions thing at 2:30. Mm-hmm. The Saban family's going to walk in, and but not leading the football team in, which I think is because after all, it's Kalen DeBoer's team, Gary. It's Kalen DeBoer's team. So then, the Walk of Champions later, mm-hmm. and then at halftime, while the guys are in the locker room kind of going over halftime adjustments, the on-the-field recognition. So I think the way Alabama is handling the Saban Field dedication is assuring that a minimal amount of distractions, when it comes to this football team getting ready for a big game, but at the same time, paying tribute not only to the man who led Alabama to all those national championships, but also to the family and what an impact they've made in the Tuscaloosa community and the University of Alabama.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's going to be a special Saturday. And I'm like you. I'm glad because I think Alabama as a football team is going to be dialed in and really focused on this game and not worrying about going to Wisconsin next week or what's down the road. I think they'll be dialed in. Let's get to Auburn. And this is something else. I'm with you. The young receivers, not just Cam Coleman, but Thompson, the kid out of Benjamin Russell, they all showed out. The quarterback looked like a Heisman Trophy contender, but I think Western Kentucky beats Alabama A&M. That's no disrespect. I just believe it. I believe Western Kentucky would beat Alabama A&M by 4 touchdowns. So there, to me, there was a difference in the caliber of opponent, but it is what it is. Auburn hung 70 plus on them. As you said, built some confidence, but now they go into a game where last year they were fortunate to beat Cal, but it was out there in Berkeley. Cal comes in, do you see this as a test at all for Auburn? Is this a little bit of a barometer game or not, in your opinion?
Well, I think it will be a test. I think Cal comes in and they're upset they lost that game last year. One of the guy who started quarterback for them last year, went over to the enemy. Now Sam Jackson V is playing wide receiver, for Auburn.
Yeah, how about that?
You got that little dynamic. And yeah, certainly it'll be more than test than Alabama A&M. Look, Alabama A&M not only would get beat by Western Kentucky, they get blown out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
By Western Kentucky because Alabama A&M is not even a good SWAC.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so, but having said that, I think the fact that, they went out there, they executed the passing game, they threw it, they caught it, they threw it, they caught it some more. Defensively, there's some things to clean up. The pass rush wasn't exactly, what Coach Breeze wanted. But you can't say enough good things about the way they executed the passing game. Against a weaker opponent, sure. But does it give them confidence going into this game and the rest of that 5-game homestand? Absolutely. So, yeah, look, I think Auburn is going to be, 4-0 heading into that Oklahoma game. And that'll be the first really huge game on their schedule.
Jeff, what'd you make of the Georgia-Clemson game? It's easy just to say Georgia blew them out, but it really wasn't like that. Clemson's defense, which is good, that defensive line is top-notch. They hung in the first half. First of all, I didn't understand the Clemson game plan. Okay, if you can't run the football against Georgia, then you better be able to take some shots down the field. You can't think that you're going to, nickel and dime them. They're just too good in space. They got too much speed. I couldn't figure out what Clemson was trying to do on offense, number one. Number two, Georgia in, over 60 minutes, they just have the ability just to wear you down. I don't think it tells us much about Georgia, but what do you think of Clemson and Dabo, and he's doubling down again on the portal? It's almost like, the kid that you dare to cross the line in the dirt, the bully's picking on him and he keeps crossing it and keeps getting hit in the face to some degree. Interesting game. Your take on that game and your take on, the different directions these two programs seem to be headed in.
Well, look, there's no arguing that Dabo Swinney has had a great run at Clemson. A really great run. The guy, won a couple of national championships there. But Gary, it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years, I think, since they've won a national championship. And he does. He refuses to embrace the portal. It's kind of like when offenses were changing, when Nick Saban was coaching, and it's like Nick Saban would go, I'm not changing the way I do things. Why should I change the way I do things? Look at all these national championships I've won. I don't have to go out to Hawaii and get this 5-star quarterback. I got good quarterbacks right here, and it's like you've got to roll with the changes. You've got to change with the times, and he's digging in. You're right, he's digging in. But I'll tell you, the deeper issue for Clemson is the recruiting has not been what it was back in when Dabo was winning those titles. I mean, especially receivers. If you can't recruit elite wide receivers now in this day and time, it don't matter what quarterback you have back there. I mean, you're not going to be able to consistently win, and you're going to be held to 3 points. And they were playing the number one team in the country. And I think Georgia's going to run the table. I don't think anybody's going to beat Georgia. I don't think Alabama's going to beat them. I don't think Auburn's going to beat them. I think they're going to run the table. I mean, I think they're that good. But Dabo's got and Dabo's already had enough chances to look in the mirror and try to change. And he's not going to change. He's not going to. So he's going to go down with the ship, the way that he feels like the captain needs to steer the ship. And I don't think it's going in a very positive direction right now.
Jeff Spiegel with us, ABC 3340 Sports Anchor, host of The Zone. Florida State, I guess the thing that's troublesome to me is, I get it, Jeff, and I think you do too. If we're Florida State fans last year, we're irate. We're irate. I mean, based on what they accomplished last season, I mean, if you're a Florida State fan, you think you should have been in the playoff, and it's hard to argue against that. But that's then. This is now. And you come out here in the first 2 games of the season and get embarrassed in your conference. You're 0-2 in your league, so you're basically shot. In a league that you snubbed your nose at and trying to get out of, you lose to Georgia Tech and Boston College. And now all I keep reading is, well, they were gutted. They're not getting in the playoffs, just stole their soul. What? I mean, you're going to be any kind of program. That's your excuse? I don't know what to make of Florida State other than if they're having a hangover for what happened last season, then they got big issues in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I don't have any sympathy for Florida State at all. I mean, all the whining that he did after not making the playoff last year, and then, they come out of the gate and they start 0-2. And let's not forget this, too. When the Alabama job came open, I mean, he played Florida State.
Absolutely.
To get more money. He played Florida State to get more money out of them. So he's not getting he's not doing the job that he's getting paid for right now over the first 2 games. So, there are no excuses, when it comes to FSU. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how bad it's going to get, but I'm sure there are 2 or 3 games on their schedule that they can win. But, I mean, it's going to be a long, hard road for FSU, no doubt.
Yeah, just an unbelievable, really big, full opening weekend. We talked a little bit about Alabama and Auburn. What are you looking forward to the most in the SEC this weekend? Is Michigan hosting Texas, the defending national champion, against a team that feels like they can win it this year? I sense that Michigan is feeling a little disrespected, getting ready to play Texas in the Big House on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Central.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan struggled a little bit, in their first game. There were teams that blew out teams in the opening weekend, like Alabama, like Auburn, and Michigan probably, underwhelmed. Texas did not underwhelm. I mean, Quinn Ewers was terrific. Isaiah Bond caught his first touchdown pass as a Longhorn. Arch Manning got in the game, ran for a touchdown, threw a touchdown pass. So yeah, Texas is feeling good, going into the Big House, and it's a great opportunity for Texas also to make a statement, for being a new team in this league, and the Big Ten considered like, number 2 in the pecking order, to the SEC, to come in there and make a statement and just make a strong statement, not only for Texas, but also for the league. So, I got Texas winning that game. I don't know about how much, and it's not going to be easy. But I think Texas goes in and wins that game.
And lastly, Jeff, you mentioned Sanford going to Florida, but you got the Bryant Vincent Bowl Saturday night down in Monroe, Louisiana. UAB goes to face their former offensive coordinator and interim head coach with Louisiana Monroe. This, with the little backdrop of that story and two teams that are hungry to kind of take a step in the right direction, this might wind up being a heck of a football game. What do you think?
Yeah, ULM is a 13-point underdog playing at home, against UAB. And why is that? Well, it's because they went 2-10 last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one's got any faith in them. But Bryant Vincent did a beautiful job kind of steering the ship after Bill Clark stepped down at UAB. He went over to New Mexico, did a good job as OC there. That's how he got this ULM job. And he spoke to the media earlier this week and he said, yeah, I mean, hey, we're right. We got him right where we want him, is what Bryant said. It's like we're 13-point underdogs. We'll take that chip and let's go. Let's go prove them wrong. One of those things. And I don't know if you're a betting guy. I mean, a 13-point favorite, UAB going on the road. I don't trust that. I mean, I think this is going to be a really tight game. I think it's a game that ULM can win. And UAB still has something to prove. That they beat Alcorn State 41-3, but they turned it over a lot in that game. And so I want to see them go on the road in a somewhat hostile environment and try to pull out a win. But I think that game's going to be pretty tight. And I think Vincent and his guys have a pretty good shot at pulling off the upset here.
Ought to be a lot of fun. All right, Jeff, great stuff as always. And I know, of course, we're both getting ready for a big Friday night of high school football tomorrow night, and then Sunday night you'll be jam-packed on the Zone.
Yeah, Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Gary, appreciate you, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jeff. 10:51 here on the Gary Harris Show. We got to get to our final break, and we'll come back and wrap up the show right after this. And we will have time if you want to give us a call to squeeze in a phone.
Savings and rates as low as 3.99. And yes, specials on the all-new Frontier V6. $3,000 instant savings and rates as low as 2.99. See Kylan or BJ today at Townsend Nissan.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky mostly cloudy today and tonight with periods of rain likely. The high today 84, tonight's low 67. Tomorrow cloudy and much cooler. Rain likely much of the day. The high tomorrow in the mid-70s at 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
10:55. Reminder, I'll be live at Innisfree Irish Pub in the morning at 9 a.m. for the Gary Harris Show. They don't open till 11, but I bet they won't mind if you slide by and join us on the radio show. One guy I think that's going to slide by tomorrow morning is Robbie. Hey, good morning, Robbie.
Morning, Gary. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I plan on being there tomorrow.
Good deal.
I love Innisfree. Tripp and them always do a great job there.
What's going on, man?
Nothing. Like all this talk about the football and then the big Georgia weekend, which, I know we can't look ahead, but I have to disagree. I think we'll be ready for that game. I think we'll be undefeated. I think what I saw against Western Kentucky, now I know it's not Georgia, but it's still a good team. And we're fast and big. That's a dangerous combo. Plus, we got
I'm with you. I thought Jeff kind of, and that's, hey, he's got to write his opinion, but I thought he kind of casually just kind of blew Alabama off in their chances of winning that game. I think Alabama's going to win that game.
Oh, that game's going to be electric, too. At night, I mean, like you said, everyone's going to be there, and that's also Striker Strong weekend. So it's a full weekend for me. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Striker Strong golf tournament that Friday at Bentbrook before the Georgia game, and then carrying over that excitement. It's going to be crazy. But do you agree with me? We got about a minute that even though it's South Florida, that this weekend has a buzz. It's got a big game buzz and a big game feel to it.
It really does. And like I said, it could be because they really didn't play well down there. I don't know. We know that Jalen's actually going to play this game, so he's looking forward to it. I think we're going to be excited, and like I said, dedicating the field to Coach Saban, which also one of your other callers and, saying that don't like to have coaches hanging around after they leave like Spurrier. I disagree. I think when you have great minds like that, you always want them around and we can pick their brain. I don't think they're getting involved in telling them how to run their program, but I would always like to have a someone like Saban and Spurrier there to go ask.
Yeah, Spurrier's got nothing to do with what's going on right now at Florida.
Yeah,
Tom's off base on that.
Yeah, because I'm loving Coach Saban being there if he needs him for anything. So, it's going to be awesome. I think they're going to show up and really show out and then get ready for Wisconsin.
Robbie, got to go, man. I'll see you in the morning.
All right. Hey, Gary, see you tomorrow.
Thanks, buddy. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Gary Harris Show. Like I said, the TGIF edition tomorrow live from Innisfree Irish Pub. Bama football trivia giveaway, courtesy of T-Town Menswear, T-Town Gallery, University Mall. Also our SEC point spread predictions. Adam Amin from Fox Sports. The Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard. Who knows what else? Chase's going to have his hands full tomorrow in the control room, but he can handle it. All right, we got the T-Town Sports Daily coming up next at 11 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. Catch me on TV tonight with the local sports on WVUA 23. And then, as I said, tomorrow, the TGIF edition at 9 a.m.